In this video, we'll be talking about the interfaces in C#. I'll create a new folder called interfaces and iAnimal interface inside it. Now I'm going to create a class dog and make it implement the iAnimal interface. Since the interface is still empty, I don't get any error here. Now I'll go to the interface and define a method or a behavior that an animal could have. I'm gonna type void, which is a return type, and then move. I didn't use the access modifier here because the interface members are implicitly public. Now if I go back to the class, I'm going to see an error. A dog doesn't implement interface member iAnimal move. And this is because interface members are implicitly abstract, which means that the class that implements them must provide an implementation. And that's what I'm going to do. You can hover over the interface name and press Ctrl- on Windows or Command- on Mac and select Implement Interface. Now the error is gone, but I actually want to print out console WriteLine walks on 4 legs instead of throwing an exception. Now if I go to the program file and create an instance of a dog, I can run dog move here. I can define another behavior, for example make sound, and implement it in a dog class in such a way. If I create another class that implements the iAnimal interface, for example a class fish, and implement this interface, I can change the move method to print out swims to the console. But since the fish usually don't make any sounds, this implementation seems redundant. Since C#8, it is also possible to define interface members that provide a default implementation, and in that case such a method doesn't have to be implemented in a class that uses the interface. Now I can go back to the fish class and remove the redundant implementation. If I go to the program CS again, please note that the dog still kept the implementation for the make sound. If I create a fish instance, however, fish move will be available, but if I type fish make sound, I'll get an error because it won't be accessible due to the lack of implementation. I could still call the make sound method on a fish instance, but I would have to cast the fish to an interface like this. And in the console we can see the output from the default implementation. A class can implement multiple interfaces. So we could create another interface, for example iMovement, that could have a method change direction. Let's implement this method in both classes. For the dog, I'm going to write a dog change direction to and print out the direction that was provided. And for the fish, I would use something similar. In the main program, we can make use of the new method like this. But there is a specific situation where we could be implementing interfaces that have methods with the same name and params, but with a different return type. That could happen if I, for example, add a method move to the iMovement interface with a return type of a string. In the classes that implement the iMovement interface, I would get an error. That would be resolved by implementing this interface explicitly, and that is what Visual Studio suggests me to do. Please notice that if I do it, this new method uses its full qualification like iMovement.move. If I wanted to call this method on a dog instance in the main program, I would have to cast it to an interface first. I have to implement it for the fish class too, as I'm getting a build error. Now if I assign this method call to a variable called movement and print it out, we can see both move methods outputs in the console. An interface can derive from other interfaces too. I could create an interface called iDirection and move the change direction method here. Now I can simply derive from this interface in the iMovement interface like this. To prove this, I'm going to remove the change direction method on a dog class. And this gives us an error that a dog doesn't implement interface member eye direction change movement. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Thank you for watching.